ID, call forwarding, call waiting, and call blocking.
I think it's time you cut the blue wire.
Cut the blue wire. Save up to $250 on your phone features with RevVoice. Get RevVoice. Save money.
Coming up tonight on our news.
A PLP MP says calls for government to help fund the Vote No campaign are ridiculous. That story straight ahead on our news.
A leading lawyer voices his concerns about Bill 2. That story's coming up.
Port Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins suggests the State Minister of National Security's recent comments on crime are out of touch with reality.
Welcome to our news. I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, less than 2 months before the long-awaited referendum on gender equality, a Progressive Liberal Party MP has accused certain segments of the church and some lawyers of twisting Bill number 4 to promote a fear of same-sex marriage that doesn't exist and to push what he called a phobia into the minds of Bahamians. Vonique Toot reports.
Outspoken Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller slammed Vote No pastors today, asserting their call for government to help fund their campaign against Bill number 4 is ridiculous. He also questioned if they're pushing an agenda, saying there is no way government would bring a bill that would pave the way for same-sex marriage.
The process of the government is to provide the Bahamian people with information relative to what is being debated, relative to what they're voting on. That is not an exercise where they're paying for any advertisement. They are educating the Bahamian people as to what these 4 bills are all about, what these 4 amendments are all about. It has nothing to do with who gets money. I mean, how could they be so ridiculous that you're supposed to give the opposition? What opposition? The opposition will be decided on election day. And I don't know why they're pushing this agenda as hard as they are pushing it.
Several pastors who led the Vote No campaign ahead of the 2013 gambling referendum have formed a group called Save Our Bahamas and are urging Bahamians to reject the 4th bill, which seeks to end discrimination based on sex. They fear it will lead to same-sex marriage and wrote the Prime Minister asking for seed funding of $100,000 to spread their message. Miller says this bothers him.
You have people in this country wake up every morning wishing people ill. Every morning they wake up and say, why this guy still alive today? These people got to get over it, man. I am not for no same-sex marriage. Could never happen in my lifetime. I don't want my children to be associated with it. Okay? But the bills has nothing to do with same-sex marriage.
Back in 2014, Miller was strongly opposed to Bill number 2, which would enable a foreign man married to a Bahamian woman to secure the same access to Bahamian citizenship that a foreign woman married to a Bahamian man enjoys. However, Miller says after listening to the Constitutional Commission and bright legal minds, he now supports all 4 bills.
It bothers me that a certain segment of society, a certain segment of the church, and even trained lawyers are promoting this fear that does not exist really, a fear that they have made up by twisting what the bill says to enable this phobia to be pushed into the minds of the average Bahamian. One thing I fear, in my constituency and elsewhere, as I travel through New Providence every day of the week, the average Bahamian could care less about the bills. The average pot cake like myself.
The Tall Pines MP says any fair-thinking Bahamian of sound mind should vote in favor of the 4 bills. However, he says he fears the average Bahamian won't vote on referendum day. Reporting for our news, I'm Vonique Toot.
Thanks, Vonique. Well-noted lawyer and Queen's Counsel Harvey Tynes is also weighing in on the upcoming referendum, voicing his strong objection to Bill 2, which he says has the potential to marginalize Bahamians. Jasmine Brown has that angle.
Tynes says if there is a yes vote for Bill 2, the repercussions could be catastrophic.
We well find that we're about to make the biggest mistake of our lives. And by the time we realize we have made a mistake, it's too late to correct it. Because we have made too many people who are not loyal to the country, citizens with the right to vote, and if we try to change down the road, there may be more of them than there are of us.
Bill 2 would enable a foreign man married to a Bahamian woman to secure the same access to Bahamian citizenship that a foreign woman married to a Bahamian man enjoys.
Citizenship, full citizenship, carries other rights that should never be given to anybody, any foreigner, based solely on marriage, like the right to vote. You're thereby saying to a foreigner, marry one of us and we'll let you choose the government. Or to run for political office. Those are rights that should be held back and only given to a foreign person who has shown a sense of loyalty and allegiance to the country.
Another bill that has stirred controversy is Bill 4, which some fear could lead to same-sex marriage. When asked about concerns raised about other bills, Tynes says they should not be ignored.
And I don't think they are concerns that should be brushed aside lightly. They are legitimate concerns, and we may very well find that their concerns were well-founded down the road when it's too late.
Tynes says he will continue his education campaign in hopes of getting Bahamians to understand his point of view. The referendum is slated for June 7th. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And a group of pastors held a legal forum this morning to educate religious leaders on the 4 bills. Pastor of Grace Community Church and member of Save Our Bahamas, Lyle Bethel, says organizers feel it is important to inform the religious community about the legal ramifications of the referendum.
We realize that a reasoned response is needed.
Save Our Bahamas launched its Vote No campaign on Sunday. Bethel says the organization plans to host several other events leading up to the referendum.
Now suggests that the Vote No campaign has pulled this out of the ether. It doesn't make sense, but they are going to rouse the people up with fears. That's just not true. And as persons will have an opportunity to hear the legal team that we are going to be putting out there, they will realize, no, there are very good reasons why they feel this way.
In other news, State Minister for National Security Keith Bell is out of touch with reality, according to Fort Charlotte MP and Shadow Minister of National Security Dr. Andre Rollins, who is demanding an apology over the government's broken promises on crime. Dana Smith reports.
Rollins said Bell is living in a fantasy land and only putting a spin on the PLP's dismal performance when it comes to the crime fight.
Clearly, Keith Bell thinks the Bahamian people are stupid. That they are that even though the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister have both said no one is safe in this country, that crime is affecting all of us. That here it is now, Keith Bell is contradicting what the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister have said is a state of perpetual fear.
Bell said notwithstanding the high murder rate, government's efforts to reduce crime are going very well, and pointed to last year's crime statistics, which showed crime has gone down by 5%, while Rollins labeled those figures suspect.
The minister has come up with these suspect statistics that suggest crime has gone down at a minimum of 5% every year that they've been in office. And currently, for the year to date, gone down some 29%. The Bahamian people have to ask themselves if Keith Bell lives in the same Bahamas that we all live in. Keith Bell is living in fantasy land.
Despite harshly criticizing the F&M's record on crime in the past, Bell said this week the F&M had the best intentions. But Rollins charged we should not accept that from somebody like Keith Bell.
They gave every indication that that murder record would plummet under their administration. That's not happened. They ought to come to the Bahamian people and apologize for their recklessness in promising things on the campaign trail that they've not delivered as government.
Rollins said the country needs a new approach to crime, and clearly if the PLP thought the last administration was in over its head, this government has drowned. Reporting for Our News, I'm Dana Smith.
After the break, the proposed Bill 4 in the constitutional referendum continues to stir strong emotions. Our News has that story and more on the other side of this break.